Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 22 series here with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And here on October 4th, we've now reached the end of the regular season here, where we ended with a final record of 67 and 95. So we actually ended up finishing 4th in our division, with the Cincinnati Reds being 2 games worse than us, and they were on a mad dash to on the bottom of the standings. They lost all of their last 10 games, which put them below us. So that's kind of frustrating to see, just because we actually won 5 games in a row at the end of the season, while they were just skidding into nowhere with a 10-game losing streak at the end there. So that's kind of tough to see that they were able to slide under us in the draft standings for next year. So with that said, we're the 3rd worst team in the National League with 67 wins, and then Detroit, Houston, and the Texas Rangers were all the bottom 3, I should say, for the American League. So with how things line up, we would end up having the 5th pick next year in the draft. So I'm still a top 5 pick, because I'm very, very good. Of course, it's not going to be the number 1 pick that we just had, but it still should be just fine. I'm actually going to go ahead and look at the index here to see our expected win-loss, to see exactly how we performed to how we were expected to, and we're actually 2 games even under how we were supposed to perform. So I guess that also probably will help us out a bit in the draft. I think that would have moved us up at least 1 spot, I believe. So not too bad there that we actually underperformed our expectation. And then we're going to go ahead and look at kind of some team stats rankings here for our team. And again, this is only within our league, and unsurprisingly, we pretty much had the worst offense in the National League. 15th in run scores, 15th in average, 14th on base, 15th in OPS, 15th in WOBA. I mean, we were just by far the worst offensive team in the National League. However, can't really say the same thing pitching wise here. 5th in starters ERA, 6th in runs against, 13th in FIP. So that is pretty concerning there. I would probably guess that we probably rolled a lot of ground balls, have a lot of ground ball pitchers. So maybe this isn't as bad as as you would think, and because of how good our starters ERA was. But it probably has to do with a lot of that we don't have a lot of strikeout pitchers on the roster, so I would think that's probably why our FIP is a lot higher. And we also have what was the best defensive efficiency in the league this past year, so that could also have something to do with it. Of course, with our defense being so good, that defense helping the starters ERA, which of course doesn't help the FIP, because that really is all about the 3 true outcomes. So that does make a little bit more sense there in context. But it's great to see that we have a absolutely fantastic defense. Definitely something that I want to keep with throughout this series, as of course defense is important, especially in Pittsburgh, which is a more of a pitcher's park. So we're going to want to have kind of prioritize having good defenders out there in the outfield. And with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of our individual stats here. Or individual performers, I should say, and we're going to kind of look at how they performed based on OPS plus, so kind of one of the better ways to measure offensive production. If you remember, I had a kind of customized stat view here. I just haven't had time to do that yet, but OPS plus will do. WRC plus is, of course, a little bit better at kind of measuring overall offensive production. Of course, these stats are kind of all-encompassing, with kind of hitting and measuring how hitters are hitting, including park factors, with 100 being league average, comparing them against across the entire league. So one of the more helpful tools to analyze just how your hitters are doing. And the best hitter we had this year was Cole Tucker, who had very limited play. I actually forgot he pretty much existed in this organization. I was looking for someone to call up, I believe, and when the rosters expanded, and I was looking through the minor leagues, because I wanted to call up one hitter and one pitcher, and he happened to be there and had a pretty good AAA season, so I was like, oh, of course, Cole Tucker should probably be on this Major League roster, so went ahead and did that, and he actually performed pretty well. So he definitely will get more of a chance next year, and I really wish I kind of had him over Eric Gonzalez, who, as you can see, was by far our least productive hitter. So I definitely would have preferred to have him there instead of Gonzalez there. Our best hitter in that kind of aspect was Jake Bauers, 119 OPS plus, 255, 367, and 456. He was a nice little player for us this year. Of course, we had picked him up on waivers off of from Cleveland, where he had been breaking earlier in the year. Of course, he was pretty highly regarded as a prospect. In his time with Tampa and Cleveland in the majors, he performed pretty poorly, especially since he plays positions where offense is at a premium. And he, ended up being let go from those organizations, and now ended up in Pittsburgh, where he performed very well for us this year. So, very good to see. Glad we got him. Of course, we started playing him in right field, and I'm pretty sure that's where I'm just going to play him every day next year. His outfield ratings are actually pretty good, 55s across the board. Actually better than his infield rating, so I'd think I'd want to prioritize playing him in right and left and over first base. Now left is pretty occupied by Brian Reynolds, who can't really play any other position, which kind of sucks. But so with that said, looks like Bauers is kind of probably going to be a right field for us next year. Dustin Fowler, kind of a backup outfielder who ran into a bunch of BABIP luck. Had a good season numbers wise, but of course definitely due to some BABIP luck, wouldn't expect that to repeat at all. Brian Hayes, not a bad rookie season here, 252, 331, and 411. Of course, would like to see him hit for a bit more power there, but was about a league average hitter. And of course, Brian Hayes is an awesome defender at third base. Had a WAR of 4 right there in his rookie season, so definitely a good building block. Hopefully he can continue to develop offensively, because that will really, of course, make his impact even greater. And I'm wondering if he'll be in the running for Rookie of the Year with these kind of numbers, which we'll see in the next episode when we go over awards and such. Kevin Newman, our shortstop, he's actually one of the only guys who really progressed over the season, I believe. Kevin Newman got off to a pretty rough start offensively, and then actually was able to hit pretty well down the stretch and at least improve his hitting numbers. 283, 330, and 391, a little below league average hitter. And at shortstop, that's probably just about fine. He hit a WAR of 3.1. I'm kind of confused with him defensively because you can see his infield ratings aren't fantastic. His shortstop rating particularly isn't fantastic, but his zone rating and his fielding statistics here really weren't awful, or at least how I would expect them. I would expect his zone rating and his range factor there to be lower than they were. So again, I probably don't prefer to have him in shortstop, playing shortstop every day, but he definitely could slot in at second base, who we're going to be talking about next year. Adam Frazier improved a little bit over the course of the season, but again, not really what we expected him to do. I thought that he probably would be our best hitter on the team this year, and he wasn't terrible. Definitely was not awesome. I would like to see him, of course, hit better next year. Again, that'll be his last year under team control, so pretty certain that we're going to deal him at the deadline. Hopefully he can have some production to increase his trade value so we can get a little more out of him. Then we also have our catching tandem here, who is also actually pretty similar. Stallings and Perez, similar offensive numbers there. Perez got the bulk of the time behind the plate. Stallings was the backup guy, and I've kind of repeated this, but I don't really have any plans in mixing up the catching tandem for now. I mean, they're both fine. They're both very serviceable catchers, very pretty good defensive catchers. There's just no really need to upgrade these guys at the moment, so they'll probably ride out their until the end of their team control. Brian Goodwin, he was really awful. Don't think that he'll be back with the team next year. Brian Reynolds, another guy who was not very good, was about a replacement level player this year, which was not good. Of course, really struggled in 2020 after having an awesome 2019 rookie season. Hopefully he can really turn around. Again, I mentioned before that he can really only play left field. He doesn't really have any arm at all. I would maybe consider playing him in center, but the thing is, with him being pretty much a left fielder, he probably doesn't have the offensive profile to be worth playing in left field every day on a winning team. Because well, his hitting ratings aren't awful. I mean, he does get on base a lot. He does have good power to the gaps. He probably is never going to be that guy who you rely on to be one of the best hitters in the lineup, at least on a good team. I don't think that he would be able to be one of the better hitters on the team. So honestly, might try to move him sooner rather than later, just because I don't think his kind of player archetype there is really too conducive to him being one of the better hitters on a winning team, or at least him not having him not be worth the resources that it would be to expend on a player like him. Colin Moran now. We pretty much handed him the keys to the first base job by moving Bowers into right field, and it worked out for Bowers. Didn't work out so much for Moran, as his numbers just continued to dip and dip as we got through the season. 81 OPS plus. I mean, he really fell off after having a pretty good start to the season. So that's pretty disappointing. Gregory Polanco, he was really bad. It's going to be his last year, as he has that team option for next year that we will not be picking up. So he'll be gone, and that'll be a good chunk of money that we have available to us. Anthony Alford, really, really terrible at the plate. Also not really effective on the base pass. He is really quick. But, I mean, when you get caught stealing 16 times at 25 stolen bases, that is pretty bad. If you're not stealing at a success rate of at least 75%, it really diminishes the effects of stolen bases and does not really make the risk worth the rare reward of stolen bases. He does have the benefit of being a very good defensive player, very good range. I'd guess that he'd be back with the team, probably not in the starting role, but at least in the organization somewhere as a backup outfielder. And then Eric Gonzalez, who I mentioned earlier, just as awful. Don't expect him to be on the team next year. That is for sure. Now getting to pitching, which, as I mentioned earlier with the team stats, was actually not that bad for us this year, especially for kind of our team success. Of course, we had Steven Brault, who was our all-star. His numbers came back down to earth as kind of expected. ERA went all the way down to 3.18. His FIP, of course, was a bit higher because he's more of a ground ball pitcher than a strikeout pitcher. And honestly, our kind of trio here of Brault, Mitch Keller, and JT Brubaker were all pretty decently solid. They all actually were pretty similar pitching-wise. They all have pretty much a low 4 FIP. Of course, Keller and Brubaker, they didn't get quite as lucky as Brault, so their ERAs are not as low as his. But honestly, this is a pretty decent trio here. 3 guys who I'm pretty comfortable with making starts for us. They all have a pretty good chunk of team control left. Brault has the least, I think, with about 2 years left, I think. And then Keller has about 4 years left. And Brubaker also has about 4. So they'll be sliding the rotation next year. And the other guys, Alize, who we also, of course, picked up midseason. He was fine as a starter so far. His ratings would make him a pretty good bullpen arm. Of course, we pretty much use him in the starting rotation because he just is good enough to be in the starting rotation for us. He has really 3+ pitches. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher, but we play in Pittsburgh, which is more of a pitcher's park, so that shouldn't be as concerning as it would in a place like Coors probably. And he has pretty good stuff, so maybe he'll develop. He's 26. Again, a lot of team control. Pitching will probably honestly stay the same for a bit here. What we really need to, of course, improve is our offense, which again was worst in the National League, and I'm sure the league last year. Trevor Cahill, pretty much doing what he always does. He's a veteran eating center. Of course, FIP almost near 5. He got pretty lucky with some luck there. ERA in the mid-3s. So I would pretty much expect our pitching to be worse next year. If our the ERA of these guys goes up. But of course, most of these guys are not high strikeout guys, so they rely solely on, rely a lot on the balls in play to either not be hard hit or to be gobbled up by the defense. And of course, we have a pretty good defense, so the ERA will probably always be a little lower than fit for us with our good defense. But again, it is a season by season thing. Kind of other pitchers right here. Richard Rodriguez, who is one of our better pitchers, or at least one of our better rated pitchers. He pretty much struggled. His ratings were, I believe he started out as a 60 in this series, and he's all the way down to 50. He did not particularly have a good season this year. He also was banged up a pretty good bit. Tyler Anderson, really low rated at this point. Doubt he would be back. Didn't have a fantastic season. Not much to say about a lot of these guys. Blake Cedarland, he wasn't that fantastic for us. He'll be back next year. His ratings also aren't that awesome, so I'm kind of don't really see how he's rated so highly. But nonetheless, he is just kind of a bullpen filler for us. Austin Davis, same thing, bullpen filler. A lot of walks, a lot of walks. 32 walks to 40 strikeouts. He did not do very well. Sean Poppin, again, more bullpen filler. I actually like his ratings. He's made a good fastball curveball mix, or slider mix, I should say, from Harvard. It's kind of interesting. I like his ratings more than a lot of others. He has a high strikeout, higher walk guy, because he's more of a power pitcher. Joel Payams here, who we picked up on waivers earlier in the year. He was actually pretty good for us. He's also kind of an interesting guy. Not the best stuff, but good control and good 3-pitch mix there. I think that he could be a decent reliever for us going forward. So it'll be interesting to see how he'll do. A lot of team control left. So again, with the volatility of relievers in real life in this game, it's really not worth upgrading relievers, especially for a small market team. It's just a lot smarter to spend our resources elsewhere. So bullpen was definitely going to be always the part of our team that we spend the least resources in. And it's really just not valuable for a team like us with such a small payroll, as we're going to need to really focus on guys who can make more impact, like signing impact bats, retaining a lot of our young players on team-friendly contracts. And then here are the pretty much 3 best guys that we had. Blake Weinman, we brought him up in the middle of the year, actually, maybe even September call-ups, I'm not quite sure. But he's a pretty good pitcher, really good slider, good fastball slider combo. And he was pretty good in only 17 innings, not a lot of work, but he was good. Chris Stratton, I'm not very highly rated, really not good individual ratings at all either. Honestly, not a guy who I would really project to do much, but hey, a really good fit from him. Probably a lot to do with his pretty low walk numbers to an actual decent clip at striking out guys. Kind of successful season from him. I'm sure he'll be back just because, again, not trying to go out and totally redo this bullpen. Then Javi Guerra here. Good sinker slider combo. We got him on waivers as well this year. Or actually, maybe not. I kind of forget. But he was actually pretty decent. We did get him waivers from San Diego. It's right there. And he was pretty good. He was our best, pretty much long-time pitcher this year. Of course, if you'll notice, there are a lot of guys who are interchangeable. Like Michael Feliz is gone. I had to release him. Claim a lot of guys on waivers. Main theme of this, relievers are pretty replaceable, and you can always, find guys on waivers, pick them up who, can be good additions to your team without really having to go out in free agency and pay for some of the top relievers out there. And with that being said, actually, that's going to go ahead and do it for the video. Again, kind of got through this first season pretty quickly, which I'm going to try to do in the first few seasons here. Since, of course, I don't really think anyone wants to just see a losing team with not many players who are guaranteed to be in our future. But again, I'll probably make seasons a little bit longer as we go through and really start to follow some of the development of our players that we're drafting and trading for and signing and so on. So with that said, I'm going to try to also get videos out a little quicker. again, just been busy. I'm just trying to get any video out when I can, and don't forget to subscribe and like if you've been enjoying all these videos from this series. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next episode.